One episode in, Tulsa King has dramatically changed the stakes for Season 3. The Season 3 premiere introduced new nemeses in the Dunmires, Jeremiah and Cole, who will stop at nothing to acquire the Montague family distillery. The Montague's daughter, Cleo, prompted ex-beau Mitch Keller about the situation, and he successfully sold Dwight Manfredi on the distillery's potential. Dwight's reputation failed to scare off the Dunmires, however, who ended the Season 3 premiere with a shocking act of brutality. They burnt down the Montague home, with Bella's father Theo still inside. They're clearly both evil and unhinged, because burning a man alive over backing out of a bad handshake deal is likely the worst thing that's happened to someone in Tulsa King. And that's how the season starts. Episode 2 kicks off with Dwight, Tyson, and Mitch overlooking the burnt wreckage of the Montague home. "Beyond a bad way to go out," Tyson says in a major understatement. "You think this punk had something to do with this? Alone? What the fuck was his name?" he asks. But Mitch says he doesn't do anything without Jeremiah's go-ahead. Dwight responds that he's threatened to burn homes down with people in them before, but it was just idle bullshit. This is sick. Tyson explains that the Dixie Mafia boys don't fuck around. Dwight turns solemnly to the wreckage, responding, "Like we do?" Though this act of brutality is shocking to Dwight, who's tangled with mob bosses and triads, he's not taking it lightly.
Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2 starts with 4 gangsters and a funeral. At the funeral, Goody brings in a blue horseshoe-shaped wreath of flowers. "He wasn't a fucking jockey, you idiot," Dwight chides. Goody replies that it was all they had, but the big issue was that Armand was doing AA and could run his mouth on the crew's new endeavor. They're concerned because the New York families might learn of the new distillery endeavor, especially now that Quiet Ray has staked his claim and clearly wants a cut of Dwight's Tulsa adventures. Margaret enters, takes Dwight's arm, and the pair moves to the casket to pay their respects. Dwight, the general, gets unnerved at the casket. "What?" she asks. "Since I saw my brother in the box, it's hard for me to get close," he says. "Maybe it's subconscious." "I get it," she replies before the Dunmires walk in. "The balls on this guy," he says before Dwight approaches. "Tough way to go out," Dwight tells Jeremiah, recounting how it hurts to burn a finger. "Imagine your whole body." "Manfredi, right?" Jeremiah asks, confirming he knows who Dwight is. "I concur, it is a genuine tragedy. I heard you and their family were pretty tight," Dwight replies. "Close." "That's not your concern," Jeremiah says in the standoff. "No, but you are," Dwight replies, but Jeremiah leans in to whisper, "I'm not the type of man that you want to fuck with." "We have that in common," Dwight says, smiling. "And if you think you're going to do to me what you did to your friend over there, it's going to be really fucking difficult." Jeremiah offers to pay Dwight 3 times what he paid on the distillery, but Dwight turns him down. Cleo enters, distraught to see the Dunmires at the funeral. "Get out of here, leave," she says, attacking Cole. "I know it was you, you bastard." Cole tries to talk her down, and Mitch sends him to the floor, yelling, "Don't fucking touch her." Cole gets up and threatens Mitch, but the latter leaves with Cleo and crew.
The 50 is worth $150 million in Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2. Back at home, Dwight's cooking breakfast, cigar in mouth, with his sister Joanne over. He asks about Dunmire, and she notes she found the title of the distillery. "This guy hasn't made a profit in 10 years, she says. And Dwight notes that he didn't have a distributor, making it illegal to sell. Loads of product he paid for, lots of new enemies, no way to make money. What to do? She muses that they could take Jeremiah's offer and build their own distillery, but Dwight shuts it down. He explains that the offer came after I insulted the hell out of him, so it tells me it's gotta be worth more. Cut to Jeremiah and crew with Cleo at the old Montague home. She says insurance won't pay, and the inspector's blaming it on a log that rolled out of the fireplace. Dunmire has everyone in his pocket, from said inspector to the governor. Dwight asks her about Dunmire. "I don't think he cared about buying the distillery, but he was willing to pay 3 times the amount," he notes. "Do you know something we don't know?" Cleo takes Dwight and crew to a crypt, or what looks like one. Inside isn't bodies, but barrels. "My dad's 50 year. Came of age this spring." 50-year-old bourbon? Made by a master distiller, Dwight asks. "It doesn't get any rarer than this." Theo made the batch with his father and grandfather, making it a true testament to the family's lineage. "The vintage is a bit of a legend in these parts," she says, and Dunmire suspected it existed. He just couldn't find it. She explains she only found out herself when she received the will. Dwight thinks aloud about how a 50-year-old bourbon can hit $5,000 a bottle, and with 200 barrels, 150 bottles in a barrel, that booze crypt is worth $150 million. Dwight's in search of distribution in Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2.
Cleo invites them all to tour the decrepit still,
And after a conversation about the term bunghole, Bodie asks if Dwight really feels the need to get into business with an old distillery, given how profitable weed and the casino are. "There's history here. This is where it all started," Bodie explains. "Booze, moonshine, most likely started by the Italians." Cleo explains that the Dunmires rigged the game so no distributor would touch the distillery in hopes of snatching them up, so Theo agreed to sell, but not our home or legacy. He'd rather see the 50 stay buried than in Dunmire's hands. To reactivate the Montague distillery, Dwight and co. need to fix a lot and convince Tyson to bring his father, Mark, along. Meanwhile, they set plans to get a distributor on board, Walden Eustace, a name Dwight can't believe. Cut to Goody at an AA meeting, looking for Armand and recounting his mafioso sins, much to their surprise. It's a bit ironic that they were worried that Armand might confess too much at the AA group. He apparently didn't, but Goody tells them all too much. Tyson visits his father, who has serious trepidation about anything pertaining to Dwight's enterprises. Tyson explains that Dwight's only nominally involved, it's completely legitimate and will be run by Dwight's sister, but is still turned away. At least he was, until Tyson's mother pops out and convinces Mark to take up the offer in order to keep tabs on Tyson. Elsewhere, Dwight, Mitch, and crew visit Walden, who at first turns down the prospect of distributing Montague's liquor again. Mitch notices the Dunmire distillery on the shelves, and clearly Walden's intimidated by the prospect of running afoul of Dunmire. Dwight calls Bigfoot forward. "You still like that psychology stuff?" he asks, and tells Bigfoot to try it on Walden. "I'd like to talk about how you're feeling now," Bigfoot says. Walden whispers he doesn't want to get hurt, but Dwight says, "We're gonna help you out with this Dunmire guy, right? And you're gonna help us get distribution for our bourbon, right?" Pressed, Walden agrees. The crew takes a few samples on the way out. Elsewhere, it's late, and Cole Dunmire approaches Cleo. He claims it wasn't him, but she explains that it's a small town and his crew was mouthing off. He continues trying to restart their relationship. "Me and you?" she scoffs. "I'd rather be dead." Cole angrily leaves. Bill Bevilacqua drives in, angry that Dwight didn't tell him about the distillery. They work out a small deal for Bill to think about. Armand calls before Bill leaves, wanting work, which frustrated Bill considers. Meanwhile, Mark enters and meets with Joanne to discuss working on the distillery. Bodie tells Grace that he hacked the gangster who killed Jimmy the Creek and knows everything he does. Said gangster arrives to make peace, and the two declare bygones are bygones, but Bodie still has plans.
Mitch gets violent visitors in Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2.
Cole arrives at Jeremiah's house to explain both that Manfredi was at Walden's claiming to want distribution for 12-year backstock and that Bill Bevilacqua was there. Jeremiah clearly has more respect for Bevilacqua than Manfredi, noting he can do the selling with his transportation and soldiers. Jeremiah sends Cole on assignment to have a word with someone Dwight cares about. Meanwhile, the Dunmires visit Walden, wondering why Dwight thought Walden was in play and have him savagely beaten. Elsewhere, we get a charming montage of the distillery and bottling plant getting up in action again. Mark and Tyson have a father-son talk before he leaves, where Mark admits he's there because your mother doesn't recognize you anymore. In a private office, Dwight has a conversation with Carl Thresher, who now has gubernatorial ambitions. Dwight wants to start a political relationship. It's tense, but Dwight reminds Carl of the skeletons in his closet and that Dwight has the keys to said closet. Back with Mitch and Cleo, the latter wonders if it's okay that she's crashing with Mitch. They catch a glimpse of someone sneaking on the porch, and Mitch grabs a pistol and steps outside to patrol. Two masked tough guys get the drop on him, but Mitch can hold his own before Cleo shows up with a knife and cuts one of the thug's arms as he's reaching for the dropped pistol. They bounce, tails between their legs, and drive into the night.
Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2 wraps up with an ominous ending.
Cole comes back to apologize to Jeremiah for failing. He says he needs a hospital, but Jeremiah, sitting in front of a fire, sears his wound with a hot poker. Back in Mitch's family cabin, Cleo's lying with her head on his lap, and Mitch unsuccessfully tries to convince her the family's troubles aren't her fight. After a little back and forth, she kisses him. Episode 2 ends with a visit from Jeremiah Dunmire at the casino. The latter berates Dwight about the Dunmires' deep ties and supposed culture of honor, and Jeremiah's personal code of honor. So given your intrusion, I am obligated to destroy everything you have built, and everyone you love, piece by piece, limb by limb, for my and my descendants' sake. Manfredi responds that when his people are threatened, I will snatch away your meaningless existence and everything that you and your descendants built. And the thing is, I'm going to have fun doing it. Dwight says Dunmire's there because he's scared. Your empire is in danger, Dunmire. I'm going to take it from you. All of it, every bit, then 10 more, then 20 more, on the back of what you and your kin built. Jeremiah leaves with the final threat, and the pair part as dedicated adversaries. Last season's antagonists found a way to stick around, even become reluctant partners. The only way this conflict ends is in blood. It may be this season or in a future one, but it's inevitable.